Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Listen, stop chasing shiny APRs. Tonight, we break down what actually hits your wallet on Flare, how rFLR vesting works, why face APR does not equal cash today, and smart ways to position through months 1 through 12 without getting wrecked by emissions math. Say, okay, it's important to understand. It's important to understand the game you're in. It's a great game to play, but you got to understand the games you're in. So we'll get into that tonight for a little bit. Appreciate you guys checking in. Happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. I did some stuff on the Patreon group today about some liquidity pairs and some analyzing liquidity pools on Spark Decks. Find out which ones are really good, right? And check out the ones that serve their purpose. Remember, these pairs been around for a minute, as we like to say. So you got to evaluate. Remember, LPing is a long-term game. It's not a short-term game, right? And so it's very important to know the game you're in. It's very important, right? Love this game, but you got to know the game you're in without question. So we're going to get into that. We'll talk a little bit about DeFi is awesome. We'll talk about that. DeFi is awesome, but you got to know the game you're in. It's not about the APR. Once you understand that, right? And we're going to go over some stuff, but it's not about the APR. You got to know the game you're in. It is about the assets. It's about the assets, not about the APR, right? And so lending and borrowing is awesome, but you got to have the right strategies, and you want to know what it is you're doing over there in the lend and borrow on that awesome platform that's kinetic. You got to know what it is that you're doing, and you got to have a strategy going in and an extra strategy in liquidity pools. It's important. Don't go running to some decks and looking at APRs. That's not the answer. Okay. So we're going to get into that. Appreciate you guys checking in. What's going on at the market right now? What's going on? All right, man. What's going on at the market right now? It's cray in the streets, I think. What's going on? Yes, sir. What's going on? DeFi, Flare DeFi is awesome, but you got to know the game you're in. It's important. And you want to start educating yourself with DeFi. We got a lot of great content creators in the Flare ecosystem. It's a lot of learning to be had. Make sure you check out everyone to learn, right? Then you gather in the information. You gather information. You gather information. You apply the principles of discernment, and then you decide what it is that you're going to do, right? It's really important, right? And in DeFi, you want to do learn knowledge, then activity knowledge, right? Learn knowledge, activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge, right? And then you move to not only modeling knowledge, and then you move to teaching knowledge, right? But in the beginning, just learn knowledge, activity knowledge. Learn something, go apply it. Learn something, go apply it, right? And you do that until you're worthy of becoming modeled, right? And once you're worthy of becoming modeled, you become the teacher, and then you gain teaching knowledge, right? It's important, really important. What's going on, JR? How are you, my friend? My mentor taught me that years and years and decades ago, actually. Hydro's in the building. What's going on, Hydro? Life is good. Life is good for sure. What's going on, brother? Crypto. JR checked in. Hello from Texas. I-Man says markets are doing what they do, CJ. Yes, sir. All right. So we're going to get into some Flare DeFi, a little bit of one-on-one on a couple of things that's important, right? So first thing, I have seven criteria for entering into the liquidity pool. It's important. Okay. All right. We're going to cover that. But most important thing we need to understand is to know the game we're in right now. Okay. Here's the game we're in. Flare DeFi is in its early stages. It's early. What does that mean? When you're early and you're trying to grow something, smart thing to do is incentivize people for participation. Okay, it's important. even smarter than that is while incentivizing people to come, is incentivizing people to stay, right? That's what the rFLR rewards program is. It's incentivizing people to stay. People think it's incentivizing people to come. No, it's a higher level. It's incentivizing people to stay, right? Because we don't want an ecosystem, early days especially, growing. You don't want people coming here farming points, farming rewards, and then they're out of here. You don't want that. You want the long term people, especially early days in DeFi, especially, right? And so this vesting thing is a great way of doing that. The rFLR are vested rewards. Okay. What does that mean? They extend over a 12-month time frame. So when you're looking at APRs on SparkDex and the percentage APR is made up of, 99% rFLR, that's different than if the APR is made up of true yield, real yield, right? So that's they're different things. One is cash now, and the other is cash later. It's different because if you if you plan on doing other strategies like lending and borrowing, you have to factor that in. You have to factor that. It's important. The strategy around vesting rewards, rFLR are vesting rewards. So you have to plan accordingly for that, right? But the genius behind the rFLR is the idea is to attract long-term holders, people who are interested in being in this ecosystem for the long haul, right? It's important. Very, very important that you understand that. So I'm going to share an example of I think 1200 rFLR and kind of show you what that means because you have to know what it is. You want to know the game. You don't want to be making a strategy based upon the APR when 90% or more is rFLR. You don't want to do that, right? You want to have a strategy around the real yield. You want to know what the real numbers are, what the real game you're playing. It's important. Absolutely important. Iman says 2.2 billion rFLR will definitely take a while to distribute. Yeah, it's going to take a minute for sure. It's a great plan, and I don't know if all of it's going to be used. I think Hugo was saying that it's probably not going to be using all of that rFLR, right? It's important to know. Man, I just got seriously hungry. What's going on? How did I get so hungry? Don't know. All right, so listen, there's important things to think about. There's face APR, right? And then there's cash now APR. It's important, right? They're two different things when we're talking rFLR, right? Face APR is what the UI is showing you. Cash now APR equals what you could realize today after the vesting math, right? So it's important to understand that. So you want to plan your cash flow, right? If you're planning on doing other things, plan the cash flow, right? If you need monthly cash, right? This is something to consider. If you need monthly cash, claim the vested only, right? This whole idea of that 50% haircut, like, look, if you need it, I get it. But the 50%, that's right, that's a chunk, right? That the purpose of that is to deter the people that are not here to stay for the long term, right? It's to deter the people that are not here to stay for the long term. That's not for you and I. You and I are here for the long term, baby. So why would you take that 50% haircut? Right? So if you can wait, cool. You want to compound the rewards. If you can do that, it's awesome. Keep your positions open. Let the rFLR vest just 12 months. I mean, where are you going to be 12 months from now anyway? Right? Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be? So, and you can consider, you know, with the rFLR, you can consider WFLR, delegate, right? You can consider that, right? Deal as well. But the most important part, in my opinion, is understanding that those are vested rewards, right? They're vested, 12-month period, right? Get a little something now, a little something now, and then the fee goes down as you grow. The percentage goes up. The more you get, the more you get. If you let months go by, I get it. Some people are going to need that money. I get it. But if you can hold the 12 months, this is what I'll tell you. I'm holding for 12 months, right? Right? I'm holding for 12 months because I'm long term, right? I'm long term, right? Long term. So just understand that you want to judge the liquidity pools. If you're doing something in liquidity pools, you want to judge them by the real yield, not just emissions, right? So the rFLR is a form of emissions, right? Just understand that. So look for pools that have meaningful APRs, right? And emissions. That would be the better one. I'm gonna ask you guys to guess the one I chose to get into today, and I exited two others, and why. I'll tell you why I did it as well. So it's really understand unimportant. It's really important to understand the rewards that you're getting. You got to know the game that you're in. And so if you're able to do the 12-month thing, this is what I'll do, right? That's what I would do. If you're able to do it, that's what I would do. I'm going to go to Spark Desk. I'm going to show you some things so you'll know, right? Just understand that rFLR is delayed FLR. It's paid over 12 months. If you go early on that, right? It's 50%, right? It's available, but it's 50%. Just understand that. So understand there's the face APR and there's the cash now APR. It's really, really important. So don't expect those immediate payouts and plan accordingly. Plan accordingly, right? And so I discovered a LP pair yesterday that was awesome. I thought it had 5 different incentives when I looked at it yesterday. Today, it had 4. So just understand that. So, and I'll show you an example of what I mean by this vesting here. Let me do this first. Yeah, that's the one I want first. I still got my MicroStrategy thing up. I don't know why I got that. I was doing some homework on that MicroStrategy. Yeah, I ended up not doing it though, but I did do some homework on it. All right, let me share it real quick. Um, Let me share real quick my screen. We're going to listen to any audio. I'll share with audio just in case. So this is an example, right? And so the yellow line is the vested months. Where can I put this? Right. So this is the vesting ladder, vested versus cashable if you exit early, 50% to 100%. And these are the months on the bottom. Yellow line, vested. Okay. Blue line's cashable percentage if you exit now. So 0, 50%, month one, 55%, month two, almost 60%. Get it, month three, a little bit more than 60%, all the way up till 12 months, right? So understand that it's a vested reward. And the reason why I keep emphasizing that as a form of emissions is because if you're looking to enter the liquidity pool with a strategy to do something after that, you got to understand it's like lending and borrowing. There's going to be a cost to borrow, which is now, right? That's now. The rFLR is future, right? It's future, right? It's month one, it's month two, it's future, right? So a borrow APY or APRs is costing you now or paying you now, like some of the borrow APRs on SEPTA right now is going on, right? SEPTA Kinetic, they're paying you to borrow right now, which is on certain assets, which is really really cool. Let me find the other one I wanted to show. I had a nice template that I wanted to show. I might have to. There it is right here. This is an example of 1200 rFLR face rewards, right? Cashable 50%, right? 600. Month one, 8.33% vested. Cashable is 54%. You get 650 if you wait. Month three, 25% vested. Cashable 62.5%. You get 750. 6 month, 50% vested. Cashable is 75%. 900 RFI, right? By month 12, 100% vested, 100% cashable without penalty free, 1200 rFLR, right? So it's really, really, I mean, really important. It's not about the APR. It is about the asset. And you have to know the game that you're in. You have to know the game that you are in. Massively, massively important. What was that? What was I doing there? Forget what I was doing. Forget what I was doing there. All right. It's important. All right. Let me see if you guys got any questions here. All right. Everybody's saying wrong screen. We're not seeing what you're reading. What? You're not seeing what I was reading? You're not seeing what I was reading. That's not great. Let me see what happened there. See my share. I read all of that and you guys didn't see it. All right. I appreciate you guys telling me that. All right. Let me go back. Maybe I need to do desktop. All right. Man, I shared two nice things there. You guys didn't see any of that. We saw the portal screen. Let me try it again. That's not what I want. All right, there's the cash flow 1200 rFLR rewards one. All let me see something. Entire screen, desktop. All right, let me do this one. All right. So do you see here where it says example cashable rFLR from 1200 face rewards? You guys seeing that? Let me know. Yeah. That's what I did at first. Initially, I did the browser. Yeah, see this says so you saw that. So I did the desktop. So that should work. Desktop. That's what I'm sharing. I'm sharing desktop right now. So I'm thinking that's what should work. Now you should see this one first. rFLR vesting ladder, 12-month linear vesting, 50% of unvested if early exit, right? You should see that there. This is just a nice, simple example of 12 months. That's vested is yellow. Cashable now is blue, right? This is just an example, right? Let me see. Right? This is a better example. Please tell me you saw this. Please tell me you see this one. All right. So on the left, the percentage of face rewards. On the bottom is the months. Yellow is vested. Blue is cashable if you exit right away, right? So this makes sense here. 0, 50%, month 1, right? A little more than 50%, month 2, a little more than 55%. You keep going up, month 6, right? Here, cashable 70%, invested 50%, all the way up to month 12, right? As an example, let me see. Let me do this. Where did that go? Where did my PDF go? All right, hold on a second. Let me do this. Let me snatch it up this way. I'm gonna snatch it up another way for you. Maybe this will work. Hold on. This, see, that should work. All right, this should work. Let's see if I did that. That should work. Right? So this should work. Hopefully, this is working. I had to change my thing here a little bit. So cashable, this is an example of cashable rFLR from $1,200, 1,200 rFLR face rewards, 1,200 rewards in FLR, right? In rFLR, right? So just understand month 0, 0%, 50% cashable, 600 rFLR, cashable. Month 1, 8.3% vested, cashable is 54%, 650 if you wait. Month 3, if you wait, 25% vested, 62%, 62.5% cashable, which is 750 rFLR. Month 6, 50% vested, cashable 75%, 900 rFLR, right? And you get all the way down to month 12, 100% vested, 100% cashable, total $1,200, 1,200 rFLR if you wait, right? So it's not the APR. And my whole point behind all of this, behind all of this is it's not the APR, right? If you understand that, you'll be good. But if you're chasing that APR, you're going to get out of there. Zed's in the building. What's going on, my friend? How are you? Zed. Let me do this. Let me do this. Just make this fit, right? I appreciate you guys checking in, right? So let me find my little thing in the Patreon for Flare DeFi. It's pinned to the top of the Patreon. Let me find that. Liquidity pool entry criteria. Let me do this. Let's share this again. Make sure I got it right. Yep, right here. Right, pinned at the Patreon. It's free to join the Patreon. You can check this out. You can learn it. You can study it. If you want to stay, cool, hang out, stay for Flare DeFi. If not, we'll see you on the channel, right? Liquidity pool entry criteria. Again, pin in Patreon. Right, free to join. You can get it. Grab all 7. Assets. Number 1 consideration in a liquidity pool. It's the assets. I would say right like 1A is your exit strategy, right? You want to know the exit strategy, right? What's your exit strategy? You want to know that before you enter, right? For example, you enter $1,000 in value. You're going to exit at 1,200, 1,400, 1,600 in value. You enter in a liquidity pool in what month is this? October. It's October. You're in a liquidity pool in August. Are you going to exit in November or December when the supposed cycle is over, supposedly? Or are you waiting for a value of your liquidity pool, right? You want to have an exit strategy ahead of time, right? Ahead of time. Like for me, everything is about the path to alt season. When we start getting into phase 3 of the alt season, there's 3 phases. There's 4 phases essentially. When we start getting into phase 3, I'm looking at liquidity pools. When we get to about 3.5, right, I'm starting to look at asset pairs, XRP, ETH, XRP, FLR, right? Why? Because the timing of the cycle is different, right? Assets are going to be moving in tandem, right? So these are important. You got to know the cycle you're in, then you got to know the phase of the cycle. Important. So assets, number 1 consideration, in my opinion, when you're in a liquidity pool, are the assets, right? Is important, right? The assets. A few questions to ask yourself. Would I want to hold each of these assets long term? Would I be okay with getting fully converted into each of these assets? Important. Is there any utility for the token slant asset? Right? Does the asset have a strong foundation? Let me ask you something. What if there was an APR of 110% and the rewards, which are the assets that you're getting for that, is trust me, bro tokens? Is that a good liquidity pair to be in because the APR is 110%? No. What is trust me, bro token? Right? So it's the assets in the liquidity pair and the rewards of the asset, right? You're going to get rewarded in an asset. Is that a valuable asset or no? Is it a liquid asset or no? Is it a foundational utility asset or no? It's not the APR. The assets. Number 1 consideration. Now, the 6 or 7 others, but number 1 consideration, in my view, are the assets. rFLR is the asset is an emission asset that's vested, right? So you understand you're not getting the full value unless you're a long-term player. So if you're basing a strategy of the liquidity pair, you got to understand that if you're going to go do some other thing, right? It's important, right? Like lending and borrowing. So you got to understand what rFLR is, right? Because markets do stuff. You got to know what it is, right? Hugely important. Let's take a look over at SparkDex real quick. Yeah, let's go over here real quick. I always gotta check and see. You might not even see this. I gotta make sure you're seeing that because I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Okay, Opera SparkDex. All right, says that. So there. All right, so a couple of things here. assets numero uno, followed closely by TVL and volume, right? It's important. Little DeFi 101 things, right? So we should share in the Patreon group. It's important. On SparkDex, you see this, got all this TVL stuff. That's awesome. Got all this APR, all this APR stuff. That's awesome, right? What you want to do is you want to go to analytics on SparkDex. You want to go to V3, right? That's SparkDex version right now, V3. And here you can check the pools, go to pools, and then you can check the 24-hour volume, 7-day volumes on these pools, right? This 24-hour volume is important, right? Because it helps you determine whether the validity, the value of liquidity pool, I should say. 24-hour volume and liquidity, both things are important. Both are important. Both are important, right? So we have some things that we share in for DeFi on Patreon. 250,000 minimum TVL, minimum if you're just getting started, new days. I don't do stuff unless it's a million or more. And then you want 20 in TVL volume. Then you want the 24-hour volume to be about equal, if not more than liquidity, the TVL. It's important. Is it a game changer? Is it, if you don't meet those exact numbers, is it over for you? No, but you got to have a foundation. So for me, I would tell someone new 250,000 TVL liquidity, right? You would love for the 24-hour volume to match 250K. It's not a game changer if it's 200, okay? But you would love it to match it and exceed it if you're able to do that, right? So liquidity, 24-hour volume, important. But you can go here and check the numbers if you want to see the numbers, right? Hugely important. So let's go over let's go over these APRs, for example. Okay. Let's find a good what is this one? Stable coins, right? So a lot of people are getting into stable coin pairs, right? And that's cool if you understand what this is. This is 23%. This is an rFLR, right? Vested 12 months. It's important to understand that, right? So you want to evaluate the liquidity, the 24-hour volume, and know the assets, right? Stable coins, cool. Know the assets you're getting here, right? Right? It's right, just 12 months, right? It's important. It's 12 months. It's APR, right? 12 months, right? You understand it. Cashable today in hand, right? It's not going to be all. It's vested, right? You get that? Like you're planning on doing something with 12 months of you're not of 12 months of rFLR, you're not being able to do that month one, right? Because you don't have it unless you're willing to pay 50% tax, which still means you're not getting all 12 months because you're getting 50% tax. You understand? So understand that. Go through these metrics, liquidity and volume. You go to analytics. You go to pools. You check these numbers. Hugely, hugely important to know the numbers. Here's another stable one, right? What is you get the CUSDX? I forget what that's called now. Goodness, go racist. Is it Clearpool? Clearpool's thing, right? 1.24%, right? 32% rFLR, right? The fee to enter and exit is 0.01%. Because these are early Flare's DeFi is early, going to have to, right? These are going to be lower fees, right? You like the 0.1s, 2s, 3s, you can get it. 0.5s, if you can get it. So right now, 0.01 for the fee, 0.01 for the fee, right? 6.1 liquidity, $876 volume, right? Right? So Which one's better here? This one at 23% APR or this one at 33% APR? Right? Which one's better? This one. This one's better. Right? This one's better. Right? This one's better. If you're looking to just park stablecoin somewhere, you know, type of deal, right? Right. This is a perfect example, right? Right? This is perfect. Perfect. Perfect example, right? You know, WETH, Flare ETH is a very interesting one, but these two here is a perfect example. Note the difference, right? $876 and 24 hours. There's not a lot of activity going on here. He's not going to be earning a lot in fees, right? You say, well, but it's 32% rFLR. But yeah, you're getting a fraction of it, right? Right? You get a fraction of it. So if you understand you're getting a fraction of it, month one, if you understand that and you have a strategy to do something with that, cool. But just understand that's what's going on there, right? Hugely, hugely important. I'm gonna pull up Kinetic and just kind of give you some examples or a example of lending and borrowing on Kinetic, right? These are the markets here. Let me see if you guys have any questions first before I go to Kinetic. Legendary's in the building. What's going on, my friend? How are you, Legendary? Blue Wrench checking in. Iman says low volume is not ideal if you want to get out of the pool. Yeah, low volume is not ideal. Just right. Just not great. Right? That's not great, right? You don't want that. What is MXRP TM? Is that time bomb? What is TMB, Iman? So, you guys get any questions about that? It's hugely important. You know, you just join the Patreon, grab that for free, screenshot of it, have that as your foundation. It's pinned. It's important. It's pinned. It's important. And if you want to stay, stay. Cool, hang out. If not, I'll see you. Oh, trust me, bro. Oh, good. I'm in. And that's good. Trust me, bro. Okay, so right. So I'm gonna give you an example of a strategy that you may be doing because you're in a liquidity pool based on rFLR rewards. And you say, you know what? I'm gonna go do something on Kinetic, right? Right? Right. So here's Kinetic. The primary markets over here are Flare, ETH, SFLR, USDC, whatever, whatever, right? So you can supply and you can borrow 15%. 15% to bring ETH over. Wow. What do we got going on here? 4,600,000. Okay. So some examples here, right? You see these minuses right now on the borrow side, right? So like right now, today, they're paying you to borrow, paying you to borrow, right? Which is sweet. But these borrow APYs, they change based on what's going on the project. What's going on? The TVL there, is it extracting, contracting? Is it expanding rather? Expanding, contracting? What's going on over there? The borrow APY changes, right? So today they're borrowing. They're paying you to borrow. If you lend SFLR, if you deposit FLR, you supply, they're going to pay you 0.44%. To borrow SFLR, they're paying you to borrow that, right? I wouldn't do that, but they're paying you to borrow it, right? Let's take, for example, USDC. You could lend SFLR and you can borrow USDC. You could lend SFLR and you could borrow USDT. You could lend SFLR, you could borrow USDT 0, right? 63%. What's going on right now? We got here total borrow 25 of Tether, total borrow of USDT 0, 31 million, right? So let's use this one. So you could lend SFLR, right? You're going to get 0.44%. Right now, the borrow USDT zero is like 10%, minus 10.4. So they're paying you to borrow, right? But 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, 30 days from now, this could be 5% plus 5% to borrow. You understand? It's not a fixed rate. It's float based on TVL on the platform, right? So what I do is I always factor 5%. I'm paying 5%. I never, right? It's at least 5%. So I'm factoring that into any strategy that I do, right? Into any strategy that will I take this? Yes, I'll take it, but I'm factoring in 5%. You got to factor in a borrow cost, right? Right now, they're paying you to borrow, and that is awesome. Like 3 weeks ago, that wasn't the case. And maybe 3 weeks from now, it'll change. So it's very, very important to do that. Very, very important to do it. If I was doing any kind of, and besides what I'm doing now, it's two things. It's a couple of things, right? If you're going to lend and borrow stables now, right? Let's say you want to lend something and you want to borrow stable coins. So let's say you want to lend $1,000 of SFLR, right? SFLR's mm, primo, primo asset, in my opinion. Not financial advice. Not telling you what assets you guys should hold, but boy, SFLR. Ooh, primo asset, right? So, because you get everything and you get staking about 40. I don't even know what the number now is 40%, 38%, 48%. I don't know. It's awesome, right? Great asset. So, you got an asset. Maybe you want to take a portion of that asset, 10, 20% of it, whatever, lend. So, let's say you lend $1,000 in SFLR and you borrow $300, right? Good entry, beginning thing, loan to value, 30%. You're great. 30%, cool. Right? That's cool. Rule of thumb, 30% awesome. Um, like right. Then now you can deal with the markets going down, percentages to 15, 25% or whatever it is going to happen, right? You can deal with it. 30% loan to value. Beginning stages, early days, you're not used to lending and borrowing. You're not used to meeting liquidation limits. You're not used to navigating lending and borrowing 30%. So you borrow $300. You lent some of that SFLR that you have, some of it, not all of it. It's $1,000 worth. You got a lot of SFLR if you're lending some of your SFLR and you got $1,000, right? Lending that, you're borrowing. Right. Remember, right now they're paying you to borrow. Right? Just right now, right? They're paying you to borrow. So what I do is like, awesome, thank you for that week of paying me to borrow. Thank you for that 2 weeks. That's in my brain. That's what I'm saying. Thank you for that 3 weeks of paying me to borrow. That's what I'm saying because I know it's going to change. Okay, so $300 of USDT zero. What are you going to do with it? You got $300 of USDT zero. What are you going to do with it? Me, what I would do, since the number one consideration are the assets, there's two things I would be doing. One of the things that I wouldn't be doing is given the cycle and given this example here of these two liquidity pools, I would not be entering a liquidity pool with the $300, right? I wouldn't be doing it, right? Because it's vested, right? A better thing to do, in my opinion, would be if you had $300, what I would tell my daughter to do with that $300 would never begin to tell you guys what to do with your own money. But what I would tell, unless you're in a coaching thing, then that's a different deal. What I would tell my daughter is with that $300 of USDT zero is to acquire a valuable asset, right? That's what I would say. Now, there's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, there's XRP, there's Solana. But for Flare ecosystem, I would, right? You heavily invested in, you're in this ecosystem. The valuable asset is FLR. The valuable asset is FLR. I would get $300 and I would buy $300 worth of FLR, right? And then immediately I would wrap that FLR, right? Why? Because now I can get some flare drops, right? Now I can delegate, get some delegation rewards. The timing of the cycle suggests that I'm doing a little bit of front running the path to alt season, right? We're not quite at layer ones yet. We're not quite, which means we're not at mid caps or low caps. So the more FLR, the better. That's what I would tell my daughter. She loves the Flare ecosystem. She wants to do her thing over here. That's what I would tell her. That's what I would tell her to do. Maybe, right? So, I would not be in this pool, right? Maybe a WFLR pool with USDT zero. Maybe you take a sum of the FLRs that you've now wrapped the WFLR. Maybe take some of that and enter a nice liquidity pool with WFLR, right? Here's an example. Again, I'm not telling anybody to do anything with the stuff. Here's an example of an awesome liquidity pool. Okay. 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 72% rFLR. Awesome. Flare drops plus 8.25%. Delegation plus 4.45. And SparkDex fee, 7.81%. Right? You got some now stuff. You got a monthly thing, and you got the vesting thing. Right? So it's multi incentives. Right? It's multi. It's important. You got some now stuff that you can do now. Right? You can do right? You can do weekly. You can do daily if you want. Right? You can do it now. Right? And if you check the numbers, for example, so again, the fee 0.05, so it's 5 times 0.01, right? So you get paid for fees if you're being rewarded for getting paid for fees, right? Right? It's important. So let's check out the metrics for this one here. 24-hour volume, perfect. So look at this. 2.39 liquidity, TVL, 1.0 24-hour volume. 290, 800 bucks. Right. Yeah. You see, there's a difference in the pools there. Big difference. This is, in my opinion, is an ideal pool. Absolutely ideal. Not financial advice. If you're not used to doing liquidity pools, you're not used to Flare DeFi yet. It's a bunch of content creators in this space teaching DeFi. Flare Forward teaches good fundamental DeFi. Just check them out for sure. Take in a bunch of information on Flare DeFi. Apply the principle of discernment, right? Apply the principle of discernment. Take the stuff that's good. Take the stuff that's not great. Understand where you are, right? Get yourself some learned knowledge, and then you go out, get you some activity knowledge, right? It's important to understand it. So for me, this is an awesome pool to be in, right? Multi incentives, like I said, and you can do some stuff now, right? And because you got some now stuff here, you can calculate the cost to borrow. What's it costing you to borrow? You can calculate that, and you can offset it in that liquidity pair because you got income now. You understand, right? Because remember, these numbers are going to change, right? They're paying you now, this week, perhaps next week, perhaps 3 weeks from now, but maybe 45 days from now, it's costing you 5%, 6%, 7%, right? So you got to factor that in. So you want now stuff. So in my view, the better bang for your buck with that $300 of USDT zero that you have now is FLR the asset. In my opinion, FLR the asset, because you can then wrap it. You can increase the size of your flare drops, because you should be getting flare drops already, right? You got some of that WFLR. Increase the size of your flare drops, right? You can delegate, get some delegations reward, and you can increase the size of your valuable assets. How many FLR you got, right? How many WFLR you got? You can increase that. You can front load the path to alt season, right? Right? You can front load it. So it's a better deal, in my opinion, for this, because if you're just getting emissions and you're only getting a certain amount of emissions, right? Emissions only here, right? That's not a lot of fees there. You want real yield, right? And so here, real yield, that's pretty good, right? So that's what I would be teaching my daughter. That's what I would teach someone on Patreon, right? Know the game that you're in. It's hugely important to know the game you're in, right? It's important. Legendary says you asked the question, have you been able to get any of the FXRP, CJ? I have. I did mint some FXRP. Yep. Zed said, ask rather, if I put my WFLR into liquidity pool, can I still get flip? Yeah. Yeah. If you're delegating. Yep. Yes, sir. Devon Steve says, morning. I'm a bit late. No worries. Man, what are you doing right now, bro? I'm doing just that. 1,000 Lin, 350 borrow, and put it into liquidity pool. Haha. Really? Which one did you put it in, man? Do you care to share which one you put it in? So, just there's some food for thought there. You gotta know the game that you're in. rFLR are emissions. It's vested. They are awesome for those of us who are here for the long run. But if you base in the APR or rFLR to do other strategies, if that's what you're doing, you got to understand it's vested rewards. It's not upfront, cashable, right? So just understand that. It's important. Unless you can get it all if you want to take a 50% thing, day one. I'm not sure if anybody would want to do that, right? Our FLR rewards, in my view, are to find out who are the long-term players in this space. That's what they want. We want the long-term folks. That's what they want in content creators. That's what they want in users. That's what they want in DApps. They want people who see the vision long-term. Yeah, so it's really, I got you, man. It was a stables, but this one when the API was much higher. It's important because it's not about the APR. It's about the asset, liquidity pair assets, and the reward asset, right? I saw some liquidity pairs where the asset, for example, was SPRK as part of the rewards, right? Um, SPRK as an asset is different than FLR, right? Different assets, right? It's important to know the assets. Number one consideration, in my opinion, are the assets. So that's just a little Flare DeFi 101 for you guys, for sure. But that's what I would, if I was lending 1,000, borrowing 300, I would get more FLR for sure. Front load that thing a little bit. That would be awesome. Uh, SFLR, great asset, man. That SFLR, I gotta tell you. Because right, you get everything, and you get staking, right? You get everything and you get staking. That's a good deal, for sure. And I think they got up until the ninth where you can, get some of that SFLR. without paying that fee to get SFLR, which would be really, really cool as well. Scepter is doing some really, really good stuff, man. They're doing really, really great stuff for sure. Flare DeFi, understand the game you're in. It's early days. It's early days. Understand what rFLR is. It's an incentive of emissions that are vested out over a 12-month period. Important to understand it. Don't get hyped on these APRs. Don't get hyped on APRs. Have a strategy. The win is in the strategy. It's not the APR. That's not where the win is. The win is in your strategy. Your exit strategy before clearly defined before you enter, right? And then the assets. Number one consideration. Grab yourself the 7 criteria for in the liquidity pool in our Patreons. Patreon.com/golf whiskey mastermind. Patreon.com/golf whiskey mastermind, which stands for Generational Wealth Wednesday Mastermind. Okay. Patreon.com/GWW mastermind. Pinned at the top. Grab it, snatch it up. Have ChatGPT analyze it. And yeah, if you want to stay, cool, you can stay. And if you want to do Layer and Flare DeFi for sure for paid members, it's $10 a month. We'll do Flare DeFi. We'll do some tutorials and education and stuff like that, so that you know that the game you're in is important, for sure. But early days of an ecosystem, you got to know the game that you are in. I think that particular liquidity pair that I share with you is a long-term liquidity pair. I think it's going to be awesome. 6 months from now, 9 months from now, a year from now, a year and a half from now, 2 years from now. I think that thing is going to be awesome. That WFLR USDT 0. If you understand WFLR, if you understand what the Flare is doing around people who participate in FLR, right, and ramping it and participating actively, is going to be rewarded, in my own opinion. So I like that one. It's multi-incentivized, which I think is absolutely awesome, for sure. I think it's a good one. And just understand, I did a thing in the Patreon about impermanent loss and what the actual meaning of impermanent loss is, right? Because people, they hear the word loss and they don't understand it. It's more about opportunity cost. And once you understand it, right? Because you can have impermanent loss. You can enter in a liquidity pool at 1,000. The value of that liquidity pool is now $1,500, and you can experience impermanent loss, right? You get it, right? It's impermanent loss is versus holding. It's versus holding the assets, right? Liquidity pair has 2 assets. You can hold 2 assets. You can put some of those assets in a liquidity pair. The difference is what they call impermanent loss, which is essentially opportunity cost. But if you know that, and then you have a strategy in liquidity pair, it's what you do with the rewards is really the difference. It's not just the fee and rewards, it's what you do with the fee and rewards that makes the difference, right? Hugely important, right? Hugely important. So the assets for me is everything, for sure. It is everything, for sure, right? So hope that made sense to you. The lend and borrow kinetic is an example of things to do. I would not be lending an asset like SFLR and borrowing an asset like SFLR. I wouldn't be doing that, right? You got to be really skilled. You don't want to do that. If you love SFLR and you want to borrow to get more SFLR, you could just lend SFLR, borrow stables, buy SFLR, right? You want your borrow asset to be stable coins, right? You don't want to be taking that hit up and down of borrowing an asset, right? You want to borrow the stables. And if you want more SFLR, then you can take the stables, trade them, right? So, because remember, when you pay back in an asset, if you're borrowing SFLR and you borrow 10,000 SFLR, right? You got to pay back 10,000 SFLR, right? So you don't want that. You don't want that. That's tricky. That's tricky, right? That's tricky. So, all right, there it is. Bam. Thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being here. What is going on here? Something happened with the YouTube thing. It's got some different information going on here. I don't know what's going on. So I appreciate you guys checking in for sure. I'm gonna hop off here. I think I've been going for an hour. Yep, looks like just at an hour. Appreciate you guys checking. Any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up. For sure. I appreciate you guys checking in. Appreciate you guys being here for sure. Any questions, just hit me up. Let me know. You can check me out at crypto_CEEJ. Crypto_CEEJ. You can follow me on X there. You can DM me and I can answer some questions for you for sure. Appreciate you guys checking in. Again, happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. You're welcome, Iman. I appreciate you guys checking in. Do me a favor, if you didn't hit that like button on the way in, please hit the like button on the way out. That'd be awesome. It helps to get the channel out to more people out there hanging out who don't understand uh, that is a new financial system being built right underneath their nose. They don't understand that. They don't know the difference between a personal line of credit and a loan. They don't know the difference between credit card interest rate and car interest rate, mortgage interest rates, these type of things. This is things we teach here for sure. Teach that in the Patreon for sure. And by hitting the like button, it'll get the channel out to more people. It's important because we need a new 1% in this country and in the world. As a matter of fact, more so than ever. And you guys, right, we're going to be part of that new 1%. It's a big deal. And do me a favor, if you happen to be in that 55% or so of people that are hanging out, listening to and watching the Crypto Seeds, if you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, baby, so that you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. I'm going to end this video like I do all my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this, or perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.